I want to start by drawing your attention to a little-known fact that surfaced for a time in the winter of 1980. Mike Phillips is an asshole. Or so was written on the wall of a men's room in a bar in Ely, Minnesota in the winter of 1980. I can still see it, scratched among the other pearls of wisdom, things like gas, grass, or ass, nobody rides for free. And there it was for all to see. Mike Phillips is an asshole. Now, two things sharpened that opinion. First, it had been written by one of my teammates. I recognized the handwriting from our data sheets. I knew exactly who it was. Oh, boy. And second, it was true. At that point in my career, I was so excited to work with an endangered species that my excessive exuberance was insufferable for some. But I had found my calling, and I pursued it with enthusiasm. I've been blessed to work on conserving biological diversity for 45 years, starting as a field biologist trapping endangered gray wolves for research purposes in Minnesota in 1980. I've had the opportunity to see historic recovery efforts on behalf of all manner of imperiled species, work that makes clear that restoration can be an alternative to extinction. I had a front row seat with the return of gray wolves to Yellowstone National Park, arguably the world's most significant wildlife restoration project to date. In many ways, that project began with this wolf, adult female number 9. She came to us in January of 1995 from Alberta, Canada. We put her in the Rose Creek pen with a big male known as number 10. They bred during acclimation, and shortly after release, 9 gave birth to 8 pups. Within, gee whiz, a day or two of that, this big male, number 10, now fairly considered dad, was violently shot, skinned, and beheaded for no good reason. We were able to capture mom and the puppies. We brought them back to the park and eventually re-released them. They, along with most of the other wolves that we translocated from Canada, flourished in Yellowstone. During the last 30 years, at least 50 known packs have called the park home, and nearly 1,000 puppies have been born. The Yellowstone Project clarified many things, including the essential importance of laws that facilitate restoration. The Endangered Species Act of 1973 was essential for restoring gray wolves to Yellowstone. More generally, the helping hand provided by the law, the Endangered Species Act, is critically important for the future of a raft of species, especially the lesser known and smaller creatures among us that have no constituencies. The Act provides us the opportunity to move past our history of disregard and destruction of nature in favor of a future based on regard and restoration. I am encouraged for the future by the Endangered Species Act. I'm encouraged by the future because of imperiled species restoration projects that succeed that I could talk about all day. But you deserve better than that. And I know enough to know that there is a mountain of lawmaking work that has to be completed in order to arrest and reverse the biodiversity crisis. That work deserves some of our attention today. Do you know that most folks are so unaware of the biodiversity crisis that they go about their daily lives in a manner that perpetuates it? Now, you may ask, how so? The biodiversity crisis is a consequence of billions of people making billions of seemingly innocent decisions on a daily basis that erode the ability of nature to support a diverse and robust assemblage of life. The biodiversity crisis is death by 1,000 cuts, death by billions of cuts. And we all contribute as law-abiding citizens because the laws that we follow as we make our daily choices allow for a burden to be placed on nature that we typically don't understand, we don't intend, and we're not even aware of. For example, it's not widely known that the everyday act of burning a gallon of gasoline, which weighs about 6 pounds, produces about 20 pounds of CO2. If we wanted to make people aware of that, we could conceivably have motorists throw a 20-pound brick out of their vehicle after about every 25 miles driven. 25 miles driven, there goes a brick out the window. 1 gallon of gas, a brick out the window. Can you imagine the piles of bricks that would line roadways all over the world? My Lord, in short order, there'd be no room to drive. But this simple example illustrates how the burden that we place on nature is often unseen to us, invisible to us, but an inevitable consequence of the choices we make per the laws we follow. Changing the laws to reduce or eliminate the burden that we place on nature, that's the pressure point for arresting and reversing the biodiversity crisis. Changing the laws. Now, the changes will require that we elect people from all across the political spectrum who are willing to serve to advance a restorative relationship with nature. Now, most of us can contribute to this important end as voters, but some of us can take the extra step and serve as candidates who win elections. Regardless of how you choose to engage, whether it's voting and serving, doing one or the other should matter to you because the biodiversity crisis should matter. No matter who you are, the crisis should matter. Let's assume for a moment that you're a person of faith. How can you love the Creator and not love the creation? And how can you stand by and watch something you love be destroyed without rising in defense? Or let's assume the alternative. Let's assume you're a secular humanist and you believe rather than faith, it's data, logic, experience that matter most. Well, then the biodiversity crisis should matter because our most reliable knowledge, our best science, and common sense all indicate that everyone's fate, the fate of humanity, is a function of the health of local landscapes the world over. Yet the biodiversity crisis makes clear those landscapes are not the least bit healthy. Not the least bit healthy. We need to move beyond our past of disregard and destruction of nature. I believe that to end the biodiversity crisis, we need to flood the decision-making space with elected officials who will enact laws that ensure we don't burden nature because of our daily choices. I'm intrigued, I'm emboldened by this belief because it emphasizes an act that's familiar to billions of people, voting to bring about essential change. And I'm encouraged by the notion of voting because it's done by people all over the world. And because of that, it has the potential to affect change that can operate at the same scale as the scale of the problem, which is worldwide. With enough elections, enough votes, and enough thoughtful people like some of you, I hope, willing to serve in elected office, we can arrest and reverse the biodiversity crisis by enacting laws that ensure that the daily choices of billions of people are restorative rather than burdensome on nature. Now, it's been a long day. I'm next to last. So I wanted to end on a point of humor because laughing is a powerful behavior. So I want to tell you my one endangered species joke. Hang on. I've actually got two jokes. If one is good, two is better. So my two endangered species jokes. Joke number one. There's these two California condors flying about, and they see the carcass of a dead clown by the side of the road. So as condors do, they fly down and start feeding on this dead clown. And after a minute or two, one condor looks to the other condor, and he says, "Does this taste funny to you?" Oh, come on. All right, we're gonna call that one for one. Here we go. Two for two. Why are frogs on the endangered species list? Because they croak a lot. Thank you for listening. Oh, that's all I got.